Oh, snap. Football's back. Good morning. Welcome to the best 49ers show. That's Ryan G. Hensley. I'm Grant Cohn, and football is back. Training camp starts this week. The first practice is Wednesday. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have a press conference tomorrow. I'll be there. I'll ask them a question, and they'll love it. There's lots at stake for them this year, Ryan. I mean, they're in year 9 of their tenure. They just are coming off a 6-win season and fired a bunch of people. They fired their special teams coach. They fired their defensive coordinator. They shook up the organization a lot. They gave Brock Purdy a bunch of money and let a bunch of players go. So they're looking at this as a one-off. They have an easy schedule. They think they're going to go back to the playoffs. We think they're going to go back to the playoffs. But funny things happen in sports. If they were to miss the playoffs again, how do you think the Niners might shake up their organization this time? What's at stake this year?
There's a lot at stake. I think under Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers have either made the divisional round of the playoffs or they've missed the playoffs. They've never, under Kyle Shanahan, had back-to-back years missing the playoffs. So if that
happened, the first two, but that was it.
So that would be a new experience. I mean, not the first 2 years, but I mean, since they got going, since they built their roster, they never had back-to-back years missing the playoff. That would be bad for the 49ers. I think that would put Kyle Shanahan at a negative below 500 win and loss record. I think the biggest pressure is really it's on Kyle at this point. They can't have an embarrassing season back-to-back. I don't expect them to, but if they did, it could put Kyle on the hot seat for really the real first time, I think.
I think if they miss the playoffs, I mean, you can't fire Saleh. You can't fire Brant Boyer. I think you got to go higher. And I don't know if they want to fire Kyle Shanahan. I mean, it seems kind of strange to give your quarterback $265 million and then turn around the next year and fire the coach. Probably won't do that. But what they could do is say, you know, we're going to give Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, another chance, but we need to fire Kyle Shanahan, the general manager, because you're the one with the personnel power and you're the one who drafted all these guys in round 1. I mean, I don't know if the Niners missed the playoffs, I'm thinking Ricky Pearsall probably had a bad year. So like Ricky Pearsall, Jake Moody, all these first round picks that didn't necessarily live up to the draft spot, they could finally say, you know what, Kyle, like you're killing yourself with this stuff. So we're not going to fire you. We're not going to fire Lynch, but Lynch, you're no longer the general manager. You're just the president of football operations. Kyle, you're the head coach, and we're going to promote R.J. Gillen or Tariq Ahmad to general manager, and that guy's going to have final say because we're getting all the 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th round picks right. That's him. So now he's getting a promotion, and Kyle, you just coached the team. Is that something that, I mean, I almost feel like that they should have done that this year.
I think it's possible. I just don't think. I think that with Kyle, they're either in or out on him. And this coming year is these next 2 years, really, right? Because I believe he's signed through next season, if I'm not mistaken. So this season,
Lynch is signed through next season, and Kyle is signed through 2027, I believe.
So he has an additional year. Yeah, I mean, it could be regime change, but I mean, I was thinking about it. The Niners have so many good players. Like they have an argument where you can 3 of the best players at their position on the team. They just can't miss the playoffs with this roster. I know the roster's had a lot of turnover and there's a lot of young dudes on it, but they still have some really good players. They still just committed a ton of money, $250 million to Brock Purdy. I know they have outs, but it's a big commitment. They got a ton of players. They just can't afford to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row like that. And if they did, there'd be some serious changes. And it would have to be, I would imagine, with Kyle. People are out on John Lynch. My only complaint with John Lynch is whoever was responsible for that trade for Trey Lance. I don't know who it was, but whoever did that was a huge error, a huge mistake. And then besides that, just not committing to the offensive line. Those are my only issues with John Lynch, but I don't know how much of that is Kyle, how much of that is John. personally, if I had to move on from somebody, I'd rather be the coach than John. I really like John Lynch.
I could just see, the York saying, look, we love our scouting department. We like what our front office could be. We have so many good people in here. And we just feel like we're leaning on the coaches too much. Of course, we want coach input when we make these picks, but we're essentially letting the coaches make the picks. And that's probably the reason why the Niners are so bad. Their results have been so bad in rounds 1 through 3 and so good in rounds 4 through 7. It's a phenomenon. No other team is like it. And I think it's pretty clear that the coaches get final say in the first 3 rounds and the scouting department takes over after that. So if that continues to be a problem and Ricky Pearsall doesn't work out and Renardo Green has a bad season and, Alfred Collins struggles this year. But once again, you get all these gems later on. I could see them saying, look, this is what we want to do. We want to promote and empower the people in the scouting department like Tariq Ahmad. And I could see John Lynch being like, cool, that's fine by me. I mean, like, I'm more of a delegator anyway. I've never pretended to be a personnel guy anyway. I've been, listening to Kyle because he's the guy who hired me. But if you want to make Tariq Ahmad in charge, I'm cool with that. I could see John being like on board. I don't know. I mean, Kyle wouldn't have a choice, but I could see Kyle being much more perturbed by that arrangement.
Yeah, that's my thing is I don't believe the 49ers would approach Kyle like that. I really don't. I think they're either all in on Kyle or they're not, right? I think they're like, hey, we're going to let Kyle until we decide it's not working. So I don't see them taking power away from Kyle Shanahan as long as he's still the head coach for the 49ers. I think he's going to continue to do things the way he's doing them until they finally decide that, hey, it's not working.
You think if they miss the playoffs that he would get the injury excuse again? Because most likely if they miss the playoffs, there's going to be some injuries. But in football, there's always injuries to a team. I don't know. What do you think? Do they get that one this year?
No, I think that's long. That ship has sailed. I think we've given that injury excuse to the 49ers for too long. Every team goes through injury. So it's part of being an NFL team. Every single team goes through it. You can't continue to give that excuse to just the Niners and make it okay. This is year, 9 for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers? I'm over the injury excuse personally. I don't care who gets injured this year, outside of maybe the quarterback. Really, I don't want to hear the injury excuse moving forward. And maybe if Brock gets hurt, fine. I understand that that's your starting quarterback. That's one thing. But everyone else, nah, I'm not buying it. I'm not with it, and I hope nobody pushes it.
Yeah, maybe if Brock goes down. Although even then, you got Mac Jones. You got your guy you wanted. And if Brock goes down, it'd be interesting. Like, is it because you asked Luke Farrell to block a 9 technique like you asked that tight end a couple of years ago? I mean, Kyle Shanahan, they're like, why'd you sign Luke Farrell? Well, he could block a 9 technique. Oh, really? You're going to do that? Okay. Well, if that's how Brock gets hurt, or if it's because Ben Barch misses a block, it's like, well, maybe it's because your blocking isn't good. It'd be interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan can skirt the blame if they miss the playoffs. I don't think he can.
I've been saying it from the beginning, and if he's successful, he gets the credit. He's the head coach, and he's not only the head coach, he's the GM, really, right? So he's the head coach and the GM of this team. So when they're successful, he gets credit for that. When they're not, he needs the blame for that. He needs to hold responsibility for that and take accountability for that. I've always felt that way. I've coached sports for a long time, and if whatever happens underneath me, it's my responsibility. And the same thing goes for Kyle. So regardless of anything that happens on the outside, except for maybe a Brock Purdy injury, unless it's Kyle's fault that he gets injured or something, I really don't have any excuses for a head coach making $15+ million a year or whatever it is.
The reason they paid Brock all this money, they gave him the 7th highest paid quarterback in the league, is Jed said with Kyle, Brock's a top 10 quarterback. That's what Jed thinks. And I'm not sure that's true. So now Kyle has to prove that that's true. Like, because he wasn't a top 10 quarterback last year. You could argue by certain metrics he was, but it didn't lead to wins. So if he's a top 10 quarterback, you should be in the playoffs, especially with this schedule. And Kyle needs to show that he actually was the special ingredient. Because my theory is that Christian McCaffrey at his prime made Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback. But I also would argue that Christian McCaffrey in his prime on this team, surrounded by those players and coaches, would have made Jimmy Garoppolo statistically a top 10 quarterback, and a lot of quarterbacks in the league a top 10 quarterback. Jared Goff, Tua, Kyler. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess we can find out this year, because I don't think Christian's going to be like he was when he's 26 now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's what's Christian going to look like? What's George? Are they going to get George? I really have a prediction. I think George is going to be more involved than ever. I think they're going to have to, especially with the way the wide receiver room is shaping up. So it's going to be a good test for Brock, because I don't think they have great wide receivers right now, at least for the first few weeks. So we are going to see Brock have to shoulder a lot of the team, and he's going to have to earn that big payday, man. That's the other thing about this season that's a little different, is Brock's paid now. So the expectations are going to be a little higher for him also.
All day, every day, Kim says, what if RS gets the job? Do y'all think he would want Brock as his quarterback?
RS Sherman?
Saleh.
Saleh. Richard Sherman. Sorry, that brain freeze there.
Depends on what happens this year.
Yeah, it really does.
We're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy this year. I mean, he's still very early in his career. What happens this year is going to be, if he has a good year this year, that's 2.5 good years and 1 bad year. Then the bad year looks like an aberration. If he has a bad year this year, that's 2 in a row. Or a down year, that's 2 in a row. And the good year looks like a Jimmy G, aberration.
I would love to be surprised by Brock, because I feel like there's not much to learn about Brock anymore. Honestly, I think I know who Brock is, and I think he's a good quarterback that's going to play up to the level of the team around him. And so that's what I think he is. So if for some reason these wide receivers aren't very good, and it doesn't look like it's going to be for the first few weeks, and he's able to elevate those guys, that would surprise me, actually.
All right, let's talk about Brock Purdy. So we've seen him play at an MVP caliber, statistically. We've seen him play worse last year, missed the playoffs. Still, though, for a lot of last year, it seemed like he was kind of carrying the offense. Kyle didn't have any ideas, and Brock Purdy was sort of running for his life and making things happen in ways we haven't seen Niner quarterbacks do in the past. Still, he really struggled in fourth quarters of close games. We know this. What does he need to play his absolute best? If you're really committed to Brock and you believe that he can be an elite quarterback, what does he need?
Well, personally, I don't think he can be an elite quarterback. That's not saying he can't be good. I do think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He's in that, 7 to 14 range, somewhere in there. I think he's a good quarterback. What he needs is a great team around him. When he was successful, he had a great team around him. Brandon Ayuk was the best he's ever been. Debo was really good. CMC was healthy and offensive player of the year. Had a great healthy Trent Williams. George Kittle. He needs a ton of talent around him. I don't think Brock's a bad quarterback by any means, but you said he carried the offense last year. Well, they were 6-11.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? When it doesn't have that in place, those are the results you get. So, like I said, I feel like we've had 3 years of Brock Purdy. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think last year he was trying to do too much, possibly to earn the money, possibly because he had to with Christian McCaffrey out, and it wasn't a great product. So this year, hopefully Christian's healthy. Hopefully one of these young receivers that we're not talking about can step up in the absence of BA and Ricky Pearsall and all these other guys that seem to be injured. And that is what would surprise me about Brock Purdy, if he's able to elevate, particularly after getting paid with not a strong team around him. Now if Christian's there and they get George Kittle heavily involved, like they should have been doing his whole entire career, it could be a really good season for this team.
Sure. I'm with you. I think you got real close to where I was going to go with this one. When Christian wasn't out there, he was forcing the ball downfield. Why? I feel like part of it was he didn't trust the running backs who were replacing Christian as receivers. Like I thought that Jordan Mason actually had some ability as a receiver, but I don't know if Purdy agreed, because Purdy almost never threw him the ball, and Purdy thought that scrambling was a better option than checking it down. It felt like to me last year. And I think that maybe he was right or maybe not. he's good at escaping pressure. But when it comes to actually running past the line of scrimmage, he's not that big. He's not that fast. I'm worried he's going to get hurt. And I think the more he checks the ball down, the more he's decisive. Like last year, there were so many plays where he held the ball for like 7 seconds and he was trying to be like young Russell Wilson or something. It looked like he was trying to be like Kyler Murray or Caleb Williams. I think he needs to do less of that. Take the scramble lanes when they're there, but be decisive and check the ball down more. And if he has a special running back as a receiver out of the backfield, then he can be really, 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 really efficient. And I think we've seen that in the past. He needs that.
He talked about it too, right? Like he talked about, I forget what it was, sometime during the offseason, getting back to like watching his year 1 tape and his year 2 tape and just getting back to the fundamentals and taking what the defense is giving him versus last year. He was doing a little bit too much. And he talked about it. And, the question is why? Did he feel like he had to again because Christian was gone? Or was it because he was chasing the money? I'm not sure. But he did acknowledge that he needs to get back to taking what the offense is giving him. And you're right. He passed up a lot of short dump off opportunities trying to make big plays and didn't quite work out for him. So that's what he needs to get back to. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo showed everybody that this team can have success if you just take the easy play, because that's all Jimmy did, right? He just took the easy open play and they had success. So I think Brock needs to get a little bit more of that and then use his scrambling ability when there's nothing else available.
Yeah, use your scrambling ability to keep yourself upright to avoid pressure. But your first option should be to check it down, not to scramble yourself, because Christian's a better runner than you. Garendo's a better runner than you. Jordan James is a better runner than you. And they can take hits. You can't take hits. You've gotten injured scrambling, diving for first downs and touchdowns. Like, it's commendable, but you should save that stuff for the playoffs when you really, really, really need it. Like, he's more in the Joe Montana spectrum than the Steve Young spectrum. And Joe Montana, he was scramble here and there, but he always had Roger Craig to check it down to, and there's no shame in that. So I think, I don't know. I mean, it's so much comes back to Christian for Brock Purdy, and if he gets hurt at any time, they really need to develop Isaac Garendo in that role, because Brock's not going to have the arm to really take advantage of some Tyreek Hill type guy 40 yards down the field near the sideline. But he's great over the middle and he can dump it down. I mean, that's something. He's been very successful doing that stuff. He needs I think he needs a big tight end. He needs tall receivers because he's shorter. I think he benefits from the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" receivers. I think Kyle needs to look into that. I mean, Jordan Watkins, Ricky Pearsall, yeah, they're good receivers, but I don't know. There's a reason why Brock keeps going to Jauan Jennings, because he can see him, literally. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he's in the part of the field over the middle where Brock wants to throw. So that's another thing Brock needs, as many of those big receivers as possible.
Let me ask you this. What do you think we see from Brock now that he's paid? Is there going to be a difference from Brock Purdy? Is he going to feel like he has more to prove, or is he going to feel like he's already proven it now that he's paid? He doesn't have to do those things. Or do you think we'll see the same old Brock?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that we're necessarily going to see like a different mentality from Brock, like him trying to do too much or not enough. I think we're just going to see like what he is for real. I think like the whole Mr. Irrelevant Cinderella story is over, and now he's paid like the 7th highest paid quarterback in the league. And if they're not winning, you can't avoid blaming him. So I think, yeah, he needs to show that last year was just a fluke, and that the Niners can win with him making this money. That's the whole key, right? If they can't win while he's making this much money, then he's not a top 10 quarterback and he wasn't worth it, and they need to start over, and it's awful for the whole organization. I don't think I answered your question at all.
No, it's like you did. You said you don't think you'll see much of I do think we will see a different mental change from Brock Purdy. I think when you are the highest paid player on your team's history and the highest paid player on your team, there's a pressure that goes along with that, and also some responsibility, accountability. So I think Brock is going to take on that responsibility. I think this is Brock's team now. I think this is now Brock Purdy's team, and he's going to behave like it's his team, meaning he's going to call out wide receivers if they're not doing the right things. He always has, but it's going to be an elevated level. I feel like there's a pressure for him now where the success as the highest paid player on the team, it's on you. It's on your shoulders, and you're the quarterback of this team, and you need to take control like a Tom Brady did. I think that's what we're going to see from Brock, his attempt to be that guy.
I'm just looking. I mean, this is what Brock needs to do. I mean, because when he first broke into the league, he was really good, but he wasn't making any money. And so the Niners could spend on everything else. He was on this all-star team. Now he's making so much money, $53 million a year. It's not an all-star team anymore. They let so many guys go. They're hoarding cap space to roll it over next year. He's going to be in close games. He was blowing teams out for like a solid year. Those days are over. He'll blow out teams here and there, but they're going to be in close games. And ever since he lost the Super Bowl, he's been losing close games. You know how like the Super Bowl can be this traumatic event with Jimmy. He lost the Super Bowl and he like never completed a deep pass again. He stopped throwing them. It felt like because he missed that one. And it was like, I have PTSD from this moment. It feels like with Purdy, every time it's 5 minutes left, 1-score game, it's like he finds a way to lose. At least he did last year. I mean, he lost every close game except for the one in Tampa. So I don't know. That's what I think we're going to be judging him on that, man. You got to, if you're getting paid that much, I think the expectation is you're going to win more of those games than you're going to lose.
He doesn't have a ton of history of being that guy at the end of the game, right? He doesn't. I mean, even going back to, I hate to bring this up, but going back to high school, I believe he lost the state championship last few minutes. So like he's just that's the monkey needs
he's
to get off.
1-8 in his last 9 close games going back to the Super Bowl. 1-8.
Yeah, I think that's the monkey needs to get off his back. That's
Yeah.
the next step for Brock Purdy, being able to in those situations make the right play and win the game for your team. That's what you're getting paid this money for. But also that doesn't mean that you need to make a crazy play like you did when you tried to throw to Jauan Jennings downfield when you had a guy wide open underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It means making the right decision, not necessarily making a crazy play. And I think that's what Brock needs to find this year is just not turning the ball over, keeping the sticks moving, making the right decision in those situations. He has not been good, and I think that's the next step for Brock.
And I think people need to go back and refresh their history with the Niners. Go back and look at Jimmy's career. Go back and look at Kaepernick's career. I'm not saying that Brock's will mirror theirs, but both of those quarterbacks got off to extremely hot starts. Won a lot of games, went to the Super Bowl, lost. And then after that, they had this slow but steady decline. And it's like they didn't become better decision makers. Neither of them did. They didn't become more accurate. They didn't become more. They became worse quarterbacks over time, both of them, as the league sort of was exposed to them and as the team around them deteriorated because they made more money. Is that going to happen with Brock? I don't know. I mean, and again, like the criticism from fans became louder. With Kaepernick, he got less of the benefit of the doubt. People forgot, like, didn't care how good he was against the Ravens in the Super Bowl when he was, making bad decisions 3 years later on a team that was like under 500. He got the blame, and that'll be Brock too.
I would say the difference between Cap and Jimmy and Brock is the mentality, right? Cap thought he had already arrived. He didn't think he needed to work on his game in the offseason. He thought, like there's quotes of him, saying I don't need to work on anything this offseason, basically, right? I'm summarizing, paraphrasing, but Jimmy was a ghost in the offseason. Whereas I think this is Brock's life. Like Brock loves this stuff and he wants to be a great quarterback and he will actually put in the work. And I don't think Jimmy and Cap were willing to do that. So I think that's a big difference for him. And that's a big part of the reason why Jimmy really never improved and why Cap kind of fell off, because he didn't change his game. He was the same guy, but the NFL adjusted around him. I think with Brock, he's going to constantly try to push himself to improve. And really, when it comes to the mental stuff, I do have confidence that Brock Purdy can improve mentally in every aspect of his game. So, maybe not physically, he's never going to have a cannon for an arm, but I think mentally, I do believe in Brock's desire to be good. So I think that could be the difference for him.
Well, it's funny with Brock, his best trait is supposed to be his processing, which is such a football word. No one ever uses that word. It's not a word, but processing information, reading defenses and making quick decisions. I didn't think he was particularly good at that last year. So I think if he's going to improve anywhere, that needs to be his best trait. He needs to be very, like with Drew Brees in his prime, he was making very quick decisions and they were usually right. Brock was over here, to be or not to be. Should I scramble? Should I run? Should I throw down the field? Should I wait and look? It's like none of that. He needs to be on virtual reality, thousands of reps a day. That's how you can improve, is improving the one aspect of your game that's supposed to be elite, because it wasn't last year.
Yeah, and I think, to go back to that's what he said in the offseason. I think that's accurate. And, again, why was he like that last season? Did he feel like he had to be like that, or was he trying to earn them back? Was he trying to prove himself? What was it? We don't know. But he did talk about he needs to get back to the fundamentals, his footwork, getting the ball out on time, and just taking what the offense gives him. I think if he did a great job of that his first year or two, just taking what the defense allowed, versus last season was kind of a mess, trying to do too much. So if he can get back to that, I think he'll be okay. And I don't think he needs to be the hero on this team. I mean, if you look at this team, he's not even the best. I don't mean this as an insult, but he's not even in the conversation for the best player on this team. Like he might be in the number 5 spot in that conversation. So he just needs to utilize the people around him, take what the defense gives him, stay within himself, get back to the fundamentals, footwork, timing, all of that. And I think he'll be okay as long as Kyle's dialing it up correctly and the people around him stay healthy.
Lamont 757 says, when do pads come on, and what's the first thing you look for? You're looking for. Also, you look very swift and light-footed on treadmill. Love you, Grant. Thank you. Brock Purdy equals Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0. I'm not sure when the pads come on. I feel like every year they wait longer. It used to be day 3, then it became day 5. It might be day 7 this year. I don't know, but they'll have a few pads without practices without pads. And when the pads come on, I'm looking for Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West. Those guys. I definitely want to see what they look like, not only in the one-on-ones, but in the 11-on-11s too, because if they're good, then the Niners are contenders. If they're not, then I don't see how they play defense this year. It so much depends on the 3 rookies.
Isn't it also, doesn't it feel like to you? I mean, I haven't seen him play, but I've just heard and I've seen him play professionally when it comes to Mac Jones. Doesn't it seem like this year more than ever, Brock Purdy needs to stay healthy because the people behind him are worse than they've ever been? Or am I tripping?
I mean, Brandon Allen is pretty bad.
It's true, actually. Yeah.
I don't have anything nice to say about Brandon Allen as a player. I'm sorry.
Who's
is he
better,
still in the league?
Brandon Allen.
Well, probably Mac Jones, although watching Mac Jones play and listening to him talk, he really sounds like he lost most, if not all, of his confidence, and he's trying to slowly build it back up. I think Darnold was maybe in a similar place, but I don't know, man. Jones is shaky.
If confidence is what you lack, I'm not sure Kyle's the guy for you, to be real.
Right. I'm Harbaugh's the guy for you. I mean, ask Trey Lance about Kyle and his confidence. All day, every day, Kim says, so if Brock can't make the team better, why pay him big money? This is something I will never understand about some franchises. Is baffling. I mean, we're talking about what the future of the organization. If this investment doesn't work out and it's clear in a year or two that he's simply not worth the money and they can't win paying him this much, I don't see how you let Kyle and John try to find quarterback number 4. Like this, that's the 3rd guy that they made a huge investment in who just didn't work out. So maybe you need to find someone else who can actually find a quarterback.
Yeah, in year 10. But I mean, in credit to the 49ers, that contract sounds good. And it's good money, but it's actually a really good contract for the 49ers. So they have ways out of it, which also tells you kind of.
But they have ways out of it after 2026.
Yeah.
So Brock's got 2 years. Yep. I wonder if that means that Kyle and John also have 2 years.
John's in contract for 2 years, right? So
yeah,
the tie's up, and then Kyle's got 1 more after that. I think these 3 are they'll ride together, right? If Brock's successful over these next 2-3 years, I don't see why Kyle would go anywhere. If Brock's not successful, that means Kyle's offense isn't successful, and I think they're tied together in that way.
Also, another thing going in Kyle's favor and John's favor, firing them would be very expensive because they have fully guaranteed contracts, and they would have to hire someone else too. So if the Yorks are like really committed to spending all this money on soccer and other things and all their other investments, they may not feel like they can just throw away $15 million on a quarterback, on a head coach to not coach. I don't know.
I do feel like the 49ers are going to have success this season, though. So I do feel that way. They're like moderate. No, I don't feel like they're winning the Super Bowl this year, but I do feel like they'll have enough success to where the fans are rejuvenated, and the hot seat for Kyle's not really being talked about. I think it'll be fine.
Rod Simmons says, "How do you grade our training staff at this point?" I mean, I'm not qualified. It's interesting. The NFLPA survey at the end of the year, the players often love everything about the Niners organization except the training room, right? It's always like AA minus for everything, food, family engagement, and then it's like training room, weight room A, training room C plus. And I don't know what that's about. Maybe the Niners just put less resources into it because the like subconscious idea is get out of here. You're not supposed to be in here. Get on the field and play. Maybe it's not something that they invest in as highly because they don't want players to feel too comfortable in the training room. I mean, that's kind of a morbid way to think about it, but I wonder if teams think about it like that.
I don't know how much I buy into the training room blame. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's always had an injury history before he was with the Niners. On the Panthers, he had an injury history, right? So, I mean, depends on who you're talking about specifically. Brandon Ayuk's injury, that was a blown out knee. Like, I don't, there's not a lot that I look at where it's like, oh, this is a training room situation.
Well, let's go back to Christian for a second. I think I'm not blaming the training room at all, but it seemed like the Niners trainers were telling the coaches, he's okay. It's not too bad. He'll be questionable. I mean, the Niners trainer's official designation for Christian week 1 was questionable. Then he was shut down 90 minutes before the game. Now, Jordan Mason said he knew a few days before, which he probably did, but it's possible that the trainers were like, our professional expert opinion is that he's okay, essentially. And that Christian and his team of, I'm sure when you're that rich and good at football, you have your own team of doctors and trainers and stuff. And they're like, you know what? We disagree. We have our own opinion, and he's going to go to Germany to get a third opinion. I just can't imagine the Niners trainers would be like, Christian, you need to go to Germany. I feel like that's a Christian thing to do. So I don't know. Maybe the training room is getting overruled by certain superstars just because they're superstars.
A Christian thing to do. The first time I've heard it in a different context than what we normally hear it on, right?
I didn't mean it like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I will say I also think there's a lot of maneuvering and chess being played by Kyle and the 49ers, like when it comes to Christian's injury history. I don't think they wanted teams knowing that Christian wasn't going also. So I think Kyle and the 49ers may have played that hand a little bit too.
All right. All day, every day. Kim says, easiest schedule in a decade. It's a mirage. Yeah, that's the other thing I want to say about the easy schedule. Is it easy? I mean, on paper, yeah, but like all the other teams in the division have the same schedule except for those 3 games. Like the 3 games that differentiate the Niners schedule are Giants, Browns.
Who is it? I don't
Bears.
know.
Giants, Browns, Bears.
Bears is gonna be tough.
Yeah, the Niners should win 2 of those games, but it's not guaranteed. Bears could be a loss. Browns could be a loss.
I would expect the Browns are a loss, and I think the Bears are going to be a lot better than people realize.
So yeah, they get to face the AFC South, but like so does every other team in the Niners division. They get to face the NFC. So does every other team in the Niners division. And you have to face the Cardinals who swept you last year, the Rams who swept you last year, and the Seahawks who beat you once and have a really like the best defense in the division.
I mean, on paper it's easy, but it's the NFL. Any given Sunday. Plus, I think going to Cleveland and playing in Cleveland in December, not going to be easy at all. Playing the Bears, I think it was December 28th.
The 2023 Niners lost in Cleveland, and that was one of the best teams in franchise history to not win a Super Bowl.
Correct. And I'm telling you, this Bears team, man, they had the best offseason of any team in the NFL. Their trenches are stout. And then they got Ben Johnson calling plays. By December 28th, I believe is the Bears game. They could be clicking. Right. So that Bears game is no walking apart. So, I mean, easier than last year, probably. But nothing comes easy in the NFL. You got to go out there and earn it. And it's really heavily dependent. Another reason why I'm so excited about this season is because it's so dependent on these rookies who we have no idea how they're going to perform.
I want to go back in time before we go forward. Let's revisit why Kyle Shanahan traded up for Trey Lance. I mean, that was 4 years ago. Given what we know now, why do you think Kyle traded up for Trey Lance? What was the number one reason he did that? Because I have I think I know.
You mean, is the question Trey Lance specifically or a quarterback?
See, that's the issue. Because I don't think it was about Trey Lance specifically. I don't think it ever had anything to do with Trey. And I think that's kind of what sucks for Trey. I think he kind of got caught up in something between Kyle and someone else.
I think Kyle just got his ass handed to him by Patrick Mahomes, and he was looking for a Patrick Mahomes. And when you talk to Trey Lance, he interviews really well. He's a nice kid. I think the 49ers also heavily weigh your personality in a lot of aspects. And I think Trey Lance is, very good personality. Always says the right things. It looks like he could be it talks like he could be a CEO.
Probably would do well in an interview.
He does, really well in an interview. I think they heavily value that, right? It's the culture that the 49ers heavily value. Look at the picks they get. They don't really have a lot of issues off the field with this team. They heavily value that stuff. And Trey had the size and the strength and the arm talent and the personality and everything. What he didn't really have is experience and confidence. So I think they didn't realize how important that was when they made that decision. And that's probably why they went for Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a better character than a Mac Jones. The things that Mac Jones was saying and doing in college was not on the same level as Trey. Trey Lance handled himself professionally. He comes from a good family, but he just lacked the experience and the confidence to be effective at this level. And Kyle was not prepared to help give it to him. So we'll see what happens with Trey under Harbaugh, or if his career could just be completely washed. But I think it was just a misevaluation.
I think it's worse than that. I think, to me, he said that they traded up without a quarterback in mind. They traded up to have the opportunity to scout the quarterbacks without having to pretend you're not in the market for a quarterback. And then they figured out that Trey was the one they wanted. To me, it was all about, like you said, he got his ass handed to him by Patrick Mahomes. Correct. And then you said he was looking for, and you said his own Patrick Mahomes. Yes, or he was looking for a scapegoat for the loss. Because I think Kyle's the reason he lost that Super Bowl. And we'll go back to that one in a second. I think he's the reason the Niners lost both the Super Bowls. And a lot of people feel that way. But some people feel it was Jimmy's fault. They gave Jimmy every opportunity to be the reason they won, and he couldn't do it. He wasn't good enough. He missed some big throws in that game. So I think for Kyle's, coaching legacy / ego, I think he really wanted to put it on Jimmy. And once they traded for a quarterback, then Jimmy was no longer the franchise quarterback. He was getting replaced. He eventually, and he'd lost his status as, the guy.
I think both could be true, though, right? Like, I think you're right. Like, it probably was a scapegoat thing for Kyle. He probably did blame the loss on Jimmy, but he also was heavily responsible for that. But I will say this: Jimmy did not play well in that playoffs. In that run, he did not play well. So, yes, Kyle probably could have altered his game plan and his play calling in order to help the 49ers get over the hump of Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't out there really helping the 49ers either. So
I think it's highly possible that Kyle Shanahan, it was an emotional decision. You lost the Super Bowl. You came back the next year. Jimmy got hurt. You missed the playoffs. Jimmy didn't play the final couple games, and you might have said to yourself, man, this guy is making me look bad. He won't play when he's hurt. He's the reason we lost the Super Bowl. We got to replace him. So you trade up and you don't know who you're going to get. And you think it's going to be Mac Jones. He would have been the wrong guy. Then you end up with Trey Lance, and it's like you go through 3 quarterback coaches in 3 years because he wasn't the right guy. You thought he'd be you interviewed him. You thought he was a good fit for your scheme. He played under center. He thought whatever. He wasn't accurate. And so Shane Day couldn't teach him how to throw an accurate pass. Rich Gangarello couldn't teach him how to throw. Like, you kept going through guys, and it seemed like he just didn't really know what he was getting himself into. He blamed other people that it didn't work out, and then he pivoted back to like the locker room didn't want to make the change, but he wanted to make the change because he blew the Super Bowl. How did he blow the Super Bowl? I want to revisit this one more time. He had the lead. He always does this. He did all three. He had the lead, and he goes in the third quarter and passes. Why? Because if he had just run the ball, then it's like a team win. It's not necessarily Kyle won. The Niners as a team did the right things to win the game, but like if you're trying to pass the ball up in the third quarter, it seems like you're trying to like blow them out, make it a masterpiece, and make it about yourself, which is kind of what the Niners did in 1995. They put up 55 freaking points on whatever on the Chargers, and everyone looked at Mike Shanahan as a freaking genius. I think for Kyle, it's not enough for the team to win that game. It has to be his masterpiece, and I think that's part of his, tragic flaw.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think one of the things with Kyle that in his philosophy that I don't agree with, teams were begging the 49ers to beat them by throwing the ball with Jimmy Garoppolo. The defenses, right, that they were facing, we're like, throw it. We're daring you to throw it. We're gonna line up and take away the run. And Kyle plays into that, right? Like, oh, I had to pass because they were taking away the run. What I would love to see Kyle switch to, and I don't know if they have the personnel even on the offensive line to do it. And it's something I've been complaining about for a long time, is that smash mouth football where it's like, yes, we're running, and we know that we're running, and we're going to run it anyways, and we're going to have success at it. They don't really have that part of this on this offense. So Kyle tries to, like, he outthinks himself quite a bit. Like, they're taking away the run, we got to pass. Well, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a reason they want you to pass. So what you need to do is just keep running the ball, whether they're ready to stop it or not, show them that they can't. And I think that's one thing that's missing from Kyle's philosophy, is just that power of football that you see a lot of teams implement that you don't see from Kyle. But I do think you're right. Like, we have not seen accountability from Kyle Shanahan much at all. I think the only thing he's ever been accountable for that I can really recall is the Trey Lance debacle. He actually said, he feels like he let Trey Lance down. So outside of that, I haven't really seen him take accountability for anything. And so, yes, obviously, when they don't win, he's going to find a reason why they didn't win. Last Super Bowl, it was the defense's fault. The one before that, it was Jimmy's fault, right? So there's always an explanation from Kyle.
Rod Simmons says, I believe Kyle thought Trey was a better alternative for Deshaun Watson, who we believe they were going to trade for. Maybe, but thank you for bringing us back to like pre-Trey Lance. But when they made that trade, it was clear that they were kind of looking around for another quarterback, and they were linked to Matthew Stafford, who the Rams got quickly. If it'd be interesting if the Niners had been more decisive and had gotten Matthew Stafford that year, they might have won a Super Bowl by now.
I think so.
And what's interesting, the year before that, they could have had Brady.
Yeah.
And they blew that opportunity too. So, yeah.
It's one of the worst things about this Kyle Shanahan era with the 49ers. They just have not done a great job at quarterback. And even the quarterback they have right now is luck, right? Like, just the last pick in the NFL draft just happens to be a good quarterback. Like, that wasn't Kyle, right? He just kind of stumbled upon Brock Purdy. So it's been one of the biggest black eyes on this era.
And that's again why I feel like this is the end of the rope, the end of the road for Kyle and John. It has to work with Brock, because you didn't even identify Brock as someone good. Brock was lucky. Brock was the last pick in the draft. The guys you thought were good were Jimmy and Trey. And then you had to pivot and go to option C, who was the last pick in the draft. And you gave him all this money. And if he turns out to not be worth it, then the organization can't come back to you two with confidence and say, okay, find the right quarterback, because you've tried 3 times, you struck out, and now it's time for someone else to try to find a good quarterback, an elite quarterback in the modern NFL. It's not you guys. It all comes down to Brock.
Yeah, man. And I think, I really feel like I know who Brock is, man. I think he's he's a good quarterback, but he's not like an elite quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 quarterback. His numbers might look like it at moments if everything else is clicking, but I really think it's dependent on what Kyle's doing and the players around him staying healthy. I think that's what's ultimately going to decide whether Brock has a good year or a bad year.
Yeah, it was funny. The difference between the Yorks 49ers and the DeBartolo 49ers, I mean, the Yorks have the nicer stadium. They make more money. They have a better business side, but the DeBartolos always had a Hall of Fame quarterback. Always. Or at least a top 5 quarterback in the league, because Garcia is not a Hall of Famer. The Yorks haven't been able to they're always trying, are always convincing themselves they got the guy. But we don't even know that about Brock yet. Dude had one good year and change. And we're going to find out if that was a blip or not this year. But yeah, that's where the Yorks are at, man. They've been searching for 25 years for a real deal quarterback, haven't gotten them. Maybe Brock's the guy.
Yeah, and I would love to have Brock surprise me and make me look wrong about it. I've looked wrong about Brock in some ways before, but I just don't think he's an elite. And I think if he was elite, I don't think we would be debating it, right? When you're an elite, I don't think the Bills fans are debating if Josh Allen is elite, or Ravens are debating if Lamar Jackson is elite, right? They just know that they are.
Let me ask you a question. Jordan Love for Brock Purdy, who says no?
Probably both teams.
Think so?
Say. I don't see
maybe. That might be the right
I don't
answer.
think Jordan Love opens up the 49ers offense. I think Kyle likes what he has in Brock. Now, like if you start talking like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, those are the type of players, obviously the 49ers wouldn't even think about. But when it comes to Jordan Love's right in that tier with Brock Purdy, maybe a little worse, honestly, when it comes to some decision making. I don't think either team is convinced to do that.
Yeah. Jordan Love has such a nice arm, and he's never really played with some of the weapons that the Niners have. But yeah, it's a tough one, man. I don't think the Packers would do it. I don't think Brock Purdy would make the Packers better. But I don't know if Jordan Love would make the Niners better.
Yeah, I mean, I had Brock and Jordan Love pretty close to each other going into, what was it, 2020?
Also, Brock and Green Bay would be all bad. All bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because
of the weather?
Because of the weather. Yeah.
Nah. But Jordan Love, the way he ended his 2023 season, throwing that interception against the 49ers,
bad,
really made him fall off for me. Yeah, I'm good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's get off this topic. I want to ask you something else. This week, camp starts. Who is under the most pressure to perform in practice this year? We're talking about practice. Some players aren't under pressure to perform, but some are. Which ones do you think are under the most? Who's going to be in that good and not so good every day, getting scrutinized?
Oh, well, we know it's Brock, but he's obviously just practicing when he.
But we've seen with Brock, he could throw a pick every day, and people are like, "Don't care, don't care." We've seen him in games. We like Brock. You know what I mean?
I think the health watch 2025 on Christian McCaffrey is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Does he look healthy? Has he lost a step? Is he good? Is he not?
Is he there? Is he out there every day?
Is he out there? Yeah, all those things.
The first day he misses a practice, it's like code blue, dude. What's going on?
Yeah, Ricky.
Yeah.
Ricky's going to be the same thing. Now they put him on the Ricky. Clarify this for me. When they put him on the PUP, that just means until they could take him off of it this week.
Today, right now. They can do it right now.
Okay, right.
I don't know why they haven't. Maybe they will on Wednesday.
It's 4 weeks. When you put them on the PUP and they miss the first 4 weeks? When is that?
If they're on PUP after final cuts, when they go from 90 to 53, then you got to stay on that for 4 weeks. Okay. Only then.
So Ricky staying healthy and looking like a 31st overall pick is a big one for me.
I want to stick with Ricky. I think it might be Ricky, because for Christian, it's just like be on the field. And even if you're not like hitting that 5th gear, no one cares, because you might just be preserving yourself. And we've seen you in games and you're a great player. So it's Ricky, because just staying healthy isn't enough for Ricky. He needs to be out there every day. He needs to be winning his one-on-one matchups in the one-on-one drills. And he needs to be catching passes. Like, he needs to be the Brandon Ayuk of this training. He needs to be the guy who is ascending, because they got rid of Deebo Samuel for him. And I'm not saying Deebo's a great player, but Deebo's going to play this year and he's going to produce something for Washington. And we don't know what the hell Ricky's going to do. So he needs to stay healthy and be good.
Yeah. I got another
one.
And
he's shown flashes that he can do that. Like, Stayed healthy for a few months last year. When he came back, had a big game against the Lions. Looks promising.
I like Ricky, the personality. I don't know if he was worth 31st overall, but I hope it comes true. I think he's got a great, I love watching his interviews, but that doesn't mean a lot. I want to see him perform like a 31st pick overall.
He seems like the kind of guy that if he's healthy, he's going to do really well in training camp. He wasn't really out there very much last year. And when he was out there, he was not 100%. And they didn't put him in the one-on-one drill. I've never seen him in a one-on-one drill, but I'm guessing he's going to be good in that because he's a very good route runner. He's quick. And he doesn't have to worry about getting hit over the middle. I think the question with him really is going to be more like durability in actual football games. You're running over the middle in this, you're running those digs and play act. Like, can you withstand the punishment the way that Jauan Jennings can? I don't know. So we'll see about him.
Is he going to be wearing a blue jersey?
He wears blue jerseys a lot.
Yeah. Which means no contact for people watching that don't know.
He's good with no contact. Elite, I might say.
I'm pretty good. No contact also.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I need a little contact.
It's the contact that gets me every time.
It's the contact.
How about Demo, man? Because he's been promoted to the number 1 corner on the 49ers. There's not a lot of talent at the wide receiver position out there. And if he struggles at all in training camp, that's a concern for the 49ers. So I think Demo emerging as a leader, being the number 1 corner on this team, not having a lot of talent to go up against, and like BA's not out there. I think Demo needs to look like a top corner in training camp. I think that's going to be a big thing. If he's out there getting burnt, which I don't expect, I like Demo, but I just do think he needs to elevate and be that guy for the 49ers in training camp.
I agree. He is under pressure, and like if he gets roasted by Jacob Cowing, it's not going to be a good look. My experience covering these camps is that it's usually the first-round picks, the guys who haven't gotten extensions yet, the guys who are heavily invested in. And so that's why Ricky's 1, and I think Mykel Williams is 2. I think Mykel Williams might be even more pressure. He might even have more scrutiny than Ricky because, I mean, if he's a work in progress as a pass rusher, and the run defense isn't really going to show itself in practice because they're not tackling. So he's going to be in these one-on-one drills against Colt McKivitz. If he's not winning those, that's going to be, I mean, it may not be a big deal, but people are going to know it and people are going to talk about it and it's going to be a topic. So I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny with Mykel. Can you beat Colt McKivitz? And if not, can you slide over to defensive tackle and beat Ben Barch?
Yeah.
And if not, that's a problem. So I don't know what to expect from Mykel Williams, the pass rusher. I don't think anyone really does. It's going to be interesting to see what he's got. 20.
Yeah. 21. For me, training camp is more about quarterbacks, receivers, than it is the trenches. I think when the real pressure on those guys begins during the preseason games and during actual regular season games, because it's hard to tell what they're really doing out there, especially when there's no pads on. Even when there is pads on, you can't really touch the quarterback. So it's just a lot of, evaluations based on what people are watching. So I do agree that he's going to have a ton of pressure this season, though. I think that's going to be big for him. So, yeah, I also I think the linebacker position is a place where we have to look at right now. Also, Fred Warner obviously is going to be Fred Warner. But what do these other guys look like? What does D Winters look like? Is he making plays out there in training camp? Do they have a legitimate fill-in for Dre Greenlaw on this team? So I think that's another one where everyone's going to be watching.
Yeah, it's true. It's all the rookies this year. Alfred Collins is under a lot of pressure to perform. Nick Martin's under a lot of pressure to perform. Upton Stout is under a lot of pressure to perform, all because if they're not good, what is this defense going to look like this year? I mean, is Trey Brown going to be a player for this team? Is Jordan Elliott going to be a player for this team? Probably not.
I feel like at some point they're going to sign the biggest, a pretty decent signing. There's not a lot of huge names out there still in free agency, but there's some decent ones. And they got $40+ million, I believe, in salary cap left. I think they're going to discover some things in training camp and make a move for at least one or two guys. I think we'll see that happening.
I think we'll see that happening too. Okay. Sheridan Milestone 1737 says cut Trent
He's
Taylor.
Still on the team?
When he is on the team, the Niners underperform. He was on the team 2017, 2018, 2020, 2024, all down years. Coincidence? I think not.
Hey, you got a point there, dude. Is he really on the team right now? Let me see. He's not.
Yes.
Is he?
No.
I don't see him on the team unless he's on injured reserve or something. Yeah, he's not on the team according to the roster I'm looking at. I don't know.
Jeez.
Is Trent gone? I didn't even say
goodbye. Christopher says, cheers, guys. Odds of SF trading for a wide receiver. That receiver room looks rough right now.
You know what, man? You know what I really freaking hope happens? Like, look at Jauan Jennings. What was he, a 7th-round pick? Jauan Jennings? 6th?
7th,
right? I want one of these big-bodied receivers. We were talking about it earlier, how Brock really likes those big-bodied dudes. Isaiah Nair, Isaiah Hodgins. Those are big dudes, man. I would like to see one of these players pop out of nowhere and become an actual guy for the 49ers. And they're faster than Jauan.
Yeah, Hodgins is actually producing the NFL. Speaking of Jauan, should the 49ers pay Jauan Jennings? They paid everyone else. They clearly didn't see him as a priority. I don't know if they didn't think that he would take it this far and make an ultimatum, but he has. They could just ignore him and live with the drama, or get rid of him, or pay him what he wants. What do you think?
So when I hear this question, my response is how much, right? Like, it depends. Like, what does he want? That's the part I don't know, and so it's hard for me to give an answer. I can't just say yes or don't pay him. I'm down to pay Jauan Jennings for the right price. He's 28 years old. He's been slow since he was 20 years old. He's not getting any faster in that regard. That being said, he blocks his ass off. Great teammate, great hustle guy, great glue guy, great hands. I would love having him on the team, but like, what are you talking about here? What kind of money is he looking for? And the other thing that kind of bothers me is that we just went through this last year. You just got paid last year. You just agreed to it last year, and now you want a new contract. I don't blame him. I like when players go get their money, and I hope he does get paid. He seems like he's the kind of guy that deserves it. But the question to me is how much? How much do you want?
Would you pay him $15 million a year?
Yeah, I think that'd be my top tier maybe for Jauan. And depends on like how long you're talking about. 2 years, maybe. I'm not going past that.
What if Jauan finds a team that'd be willing to pay him $18 million a year for 3 years? Would you trade him? Or would you say, you can hold out, I don't give a damn?
This wide receiver room is pretty damn thin, man. It's pretty damn thin.
I don't know if you can play around with Jauan, man.
Nah. You got it.
We don't even know how hurt Ricky is.
Here's the other thing. Excuse me. This is important. At some point, the 49ers have to stop caving to every demand of these players, because they set the precedence. And this is why they're dealing with it now. Because if you hold out or hold in, they cave for you. So they need to offer Jauan a fair contract. They can't afford to lose him if they're not going to replace him. Offer him a fair contract for a year or two. Pay him, something like a wide receiver 3 deserves. But if he doesn't want it, you got to, at some point, show this team and show the NFL that you're not going to cave every single time.
It's true. I agree. It seems to me that they've had long enough. Make him your final offer today. And if he doesn't want it, then trade him to tomorrow, because you can't have a hold-in. You said that one of the main reasons you had a down year last year was because of the contract disputes overshadowing training camp, all the drama. That was your word. You wanted to have a drama-free offseason. That was your word. and you try to succeed. You came close, and now the drama. Jauan's bringing the drama. And if you just turn your back on it and be like, it's not that big of a deal, we can manage it, then you're just contradicting everything you said this offseason. You can't let this happen.
Yeah, man. Again, I'd really like Jauan.
So sign him or trade him.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players. I don't even know if I would. They need to bring in some wide receivers. That's the other thing is they have $40 million. There's some good receivers out there. If they're going to trade them for another receiver. They can't afford to just lose him and not replace him. That's one thing they can't.
They could sign Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen both today.
They probably should.
Why not?
Regardless
Keenan Allen would be a great fit with Brock Purdy.
Oh, yeah.
And Amari Cooper is quite similar to Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're waiting on when it comes to the money. Maybe they're waiting to see what happens here in training camp. Maybe they're waiting to see what they can do with Jauan. Because I know this didn't hit him out of left field. I know it was reported last week or whatever, but this has probably been something they've been aware of for months. But now it's just coming out in public. So maybe they're waiting to see what they can do with Jauan. Maybe they're waiting to see what they have in these young dudes and in training camp. And then they might have to pull the trigger on one of these veterans that's out there.
Yeah, indeed. We got a couple more super chats. Sheridan Milestone says, Trent Taylor is on IR, but that's still too close to the team. Get him out of here. He is bad luck. Every down year, he is around the team. Signed DJ Chark. It's true, man. He was in the locker room last year. He was playing a lot of basketball. For a guy who never, ever actually plays football for this team, he is playing a ton of basketball in the locker room. And I just don't think it's, what they need.
I think besides a backup quarterback, Trent Taylor might have the best job in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Just chill, work out,
hang out with Kittle,
get treatment, use world-class facilities, and just work on your jumper. He's also great at ping pong, but they don't have a ping pong table in there anymore. Like the best athletes on the team at not playing football and other sports, I think Trent Taylor's probably tops in basketball, tennis, ping pong. I don't know about golf.
Maybe pickleball.
I think probably pickleball. All right, last question, then we're out of here. Who is the 49ers' best player in 2025?
This is interesting to me. I took a poll on Twitter, and the 49er fans, the choices were Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Fred Warner, and George Kittle. And 49er fans chose Fred Warner by a big margin, 45.7%, over like 1,000 people voted. 26.4 voted for Kittle in second. Trent Williams was 17.5 in third, and McCaffrey was fourth at 10.4%. Before I give you my opinion, I want to get yours. If that's
okay. I go back and forth on this one. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Trent. I don't think it's Bosa. Although it was Trent a couple years ago, but not anymore. It's got to be Kittle or Warner. Warner gets bonus points for his durability, but it's not like Kittle misses half of a season. He did once. He usually misses a game or two. Maybe today I feel like the answer is Kittle because Warner isn't dependent on a quarterback. He is the quarterback of the defense. Kittle is dependent on not just Brock, who's good but not great, but also Kyle, who is, I'm not saying he's bad. He's very good, but like he will forget about Kittle. Kittle can't call his own number. There'll be games where Kittle get 4 targets and he'll say, I don't know. I was running routes. I wanted to contribute, but I guess they didn't see it fit for me to do that today. I think Kittle has been held back by play caller and quarterback more than a lot of players. He should have probably 100 more catches in his career. I mean, Jauan Jennings had 19 more targets than him last year in the same amount of games. Like that's what he's up against, and it's not his fault.
Yeah, I struggle with this one too. Like there's a multiple ways of looking at it. Trent Williams, Fred Warner, George Kittle, out of those 4 that are on the list, those 3 guys, you can make a real good argument that they're the best at their position in the NFL. Christian getting 4th on this one, it makes sense to me because, some people might say he's the best if healthy, but a majority of people wouldn't say that. I think Trent Williams obviously is a Hall of Famer. George Kittle is a Hall of Famer. Fred Warner probably will be a Hall of Famer. As far as like right now, I would say it's the best player right now is George Kittle. I would say the best player, like overall career wise, is Trent Williams, and maybe the most important player for the 49ers might be Trent, but you could also argue Fred, because Fred is everything on that defense. If you took Fred out of it, I think this defense might be screwed. So I've struggled with this one, man.
Well, I think it's interesting because like Kittle's been a fairly consistent performer his whole career. Like since his second year to now, he's pretty much been doing the same things, which is elite blocking and elite receiving. But even when he's at his best, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like it necessarily translates to team success. Like he's had great years on Niner teams that did nothing, went nowhere. So to me, the best player on the team in the past was Christian by a wide margin. And maybe it's hard. You don't think of a running back as making that kind of an impact, but he was so much more than a running back. I mean, he was an excellent runner, but his ability as a receiver was so unmatched. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs can do it, but there was very few guys who were really as feared as a receiver as Christian. And I think he made everyone look so much better than they were. And if he can't do that anymore, like Kittle doesn't elevate everyone else. Christian scored 20-something touchdowns. He had a streak where he scored a touchdown every game. As good as Kittle is, they can't get him the ball in the end zone that frequently, even though he's a really good red zone option. I mean, McCaffrey was the ultimate easy button, like in those Staples commercials, and I don't know if he's that anymore.
But, I mean, you also, like, I think not talking about Trent, and I know it's because he's old and he gets injured quite a bit now, misses a few games. But, I mean, if you ask any offensive line in the NFL who the best tackle is, almost all of them are going to say Trent Williams.
It's true.
He's that guy, right? Like if Trent is an absolute freak that I think a lot of us have just like, you know, kind of taken for granted because we're so used to it, especially coming off of Staley. But if you take Trent out of this offensive line, they're a bottom 5 offensive line.
You're probably right, actually. That's probably right. Because we've seen it. Without Christian, the Niners aren't great, but they're not necessarily awful. Like they were 4-4 without Christian in the first 4 games. So they weren't awful. And their offense was like, you know, statistically pretty good. But without Trent, they suck. They absolutely suck without Trent. They can't win without Trent.
Yeah. And if you ask Christian who he needs on the field, he's going to say Trent.
You ask Brock?
Yeah. Trent.
Brock was even talking about it in that Bussin' with the Boys podcast. He was like, yeah, you know, sometimes when Trent's hurt, I'll like go to the training room and be like, are you going to play this week? And Trent will be like, I got you, or no promises. And it seems like, I mean, I'd be much more confident if I had Trent Williams out there.
That being said, you know, this defense would look, I think, really bad without Fred Warner. I think he is the critical piece on this defense. You took him out, it would look different. You take Trent out, it would look different. I don't think if you, because the 49ers don't utilize Kittle as much as they should, if you lost him, it probably wouldn't look as bad as some people would think. Obviously, you wouldn't have that weapon out there because they don't really have a great tight end too. But I do think there's an argument for Kittle. Honestly, when I made that survey, my answer was Kittle. I feel like Kittle is an absolute freak. It's just not being utilized to his potential. I think, and that's why I think it's happening this year. Lack of wide receiver talent. Who knows what's going to happen with CMC? I think, honestly, Kittle should be the number 1 target on the 49ers this season. I think it's possible it happens.
Ramillia Sports Report has an interesting comment. He says the Niners' best players blew the last Super Bowl. Trent had a horrible back-to-back penalties on one drive and didn't play well. CMC fumbled. Kittle was BSing, joking around, let his defender land on a fumble. Ayuk didn't play well. Debo didn't play well. It's true. And, you know, it's funny. The one guy we didn't mention at all in the Niners' best player conversation is their highest paid player, their quarterback, Brock Purdy. Neither of us even considered him.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't even think about. You mentioned Bosa. Like I didn't even think about Bosa either. He's the highest paid player on the defense, right? The highest paid player on offense, the highest paid player on defense. Neither one are really in the conversation for the best player on the team. Yeah, what do you think? Is that what is that? Is that bad that the quarterback's not even in the top 4 on the team?
I mean, it wasn't a problem when he was making $900K a year, but now that he's making $53 million a year, and they just had to push off, like Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga and Travarius Ward and Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore and Jordan Mason and all those guys had to leave and get replaced by, the Jason Pinnocks and Trey Browns and Upton Stouts of the world. Like, yeah, dude, you need to be maybe not the best player on the team because like Jalen Hurts isn't the best player on the Eagles, but he was in the Super Bowl or he was one of them. Brock needs to like have lots of moments where he's the star. And he's had some. He didn't have many last year, but he needs that.
Who's number 5? Who's number 5 on this list? Is it Nick Bosa or is it Brock or someone
Nick
else?
Bosa's a better football player than Brock Purdy.
So Brock.
You can say Brock's like more important because he's a quarterback, but like that's a different discussion. I mean, Brock is not better than Nick Bosa. Brock is not better than Trent Williams. He might be better than Christian now. Maybe. I don't even know that Brock's better than Jauan. I think Brock and Jauan have a lot in common. They're both 7th-round picks who have clear and obvious physical limitations, and yet they're supreme competitors who fit the system and the culture. Are really good players, but not elite.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's a problem necessarily. I think it's like the Eagles, man. You brought up Jalen. It's a good example. Like the Eagles won the Super Bowl because they're so talented all around. As long as Brock's in that, top 5, top 6 range, that's fine. What I will say though is if Nick Bosa doesn't have a great season, or even if he does, honestly, to me he's trade bait number 1 after this coming season. I would highly consider trading Nick Bosa. Actually, even if he does have a good season, because you're going to get a lot back for him in return. But him being the highest paid player on defense, is he still the highest in the NFL as well? Like, if he's not top 5 on your team, top 4 on your team, and he's the highest paid player on your defense, I would trade him and get some draft capital from Nick Bosa after this season.
Yeah. Now, I don't know why I'm thinking about the Eagles, but like, who's the best player on the Eagles, in your opinion? To me, that like the guy who put him over the top, there were 2 guys who put him over the top, Fangio and Barkley.
Yeah.
I mean, Barkley wasn't great in the Super Bowl. Hurts was great in the Super Bowl, but like they wouldn't have made the Super Bowl if Barkley didn't have one of these all-time freaking seasons, my opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it's not a problem. It doesn't bother me that Brock's not there, but he just needs to, play his part and utilize the tools around him to have success. So it doesn't bother me that Brock's not there.
But I mean, like, the Eagles are feeling great about Jalen Hurts right now because they just won the Super Bowl and he played well in it. But if Barkley has the season this year that McCaffrey had last year, then the Eagles are going to be back in that position where Hurts is being asked to do a little too much, and he's probably turning the ball over a little too much. And they might, I mean, a year after winning the Super Bowl, they could be like, man, this is who we thought he was, and he was a Barkley merchant. I mean, I don't think Hurts is out of the woods necessarily. I don't know that he's absolutely a top 10 quarterback. He's in the best situation by far, and he just had, we've seen what a Hall of Fame level quarterback can do for a running back can do for a quarterback in today's NFL.
Although I will say he actually played both in great. He played good in both Super Bowls. Even the one
he did.
They lost, he played really good, and that's what you want your quarterback to play his best in those moments. So yeah, it's funny, man. The Eagles last year reminded me a lot of the Niners in 2023. It's just the Niners didn't go all the way through with it. They won as a team, right? And I feel like that's what the Eagles done. Hurts played really well though in that Super Bowl, both Super Bowls, but they overall won because they had the best team.
They won as a team.
Yeah,
I love that. And again, that comes back to my theme or our theme. To me, Kyle in that last moment, why he does uncharacteristic things in the second half of Super Bowls is because he wants to. I don't know that he wants to win as a team. I think there's a little voice in his head saying, this is going to be my masterpiece. This is going to be my big win. And as long as that's his mentality, he's never going to win it. It needs to be a collaborative effort. He needs to be able to say, couldn't have done this alone. Brock helped. Brock was part of it.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done this with Sam Darnold. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, when you have success with Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe it goes to your head a little bit.
Maybe. Nick Mullins, too. Jason Lutz says, is there a way to submit possible discussion topics? Yeah. You can DM me on X and you can submit them here. in the comments.
As a question early in the show, and you probably will get it talked about.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is submit the $2 and write the question, and then we'll answer it. So that we can make it a discussion topic. Lamont says the real all-star is Moody. He lost us less games than Brock did, and he's way more clutch in the red zone. Moody would never cost us wins or the season. Okay. Who's more clutch, Brock or Moody? Obviously Brock.
Brock is
obviously Brock.
Yeah. Can I do
Jordan Milestone says y'all should do a show on the Trent Taylor curse. He's not giving it up.
The Trent Taylor curse.
Where was he in 2019 is my question. Was he on IR?
I don't know. I haven't.
See, I think I want to find out before we get out of here. Trent Taylor, 2019, where were you?
Can I?
He was on IR.
Can
Injured
I shout
reserve.
Can I shout out
on the team? Sorry.
Can I shout out 2 people?
Hell yeah.
I've been I ran into a couple of viewers over the last week or 2, so I want to shout them out. Shout out to William Damastis 186, who I bumped into a couple days ago, and Drippy Dad, who was helping my daughter buy a car. Bumped into both of them. They watched the show and they recognized me, so I wanted to give a shout out to them.
Shout out. It's always nice getting recognized.
That's cool. Yeah, it's
Drippy
fun
Dad.
bumping into people. The guy yesterday, the guy was like, "Does anyone ever?" He pulled up a picture of me and you. He's like, "Does anyone ever tell you look like this guy?" I'm like, yeah, because
it's my cousin. It's my brother. Did you ever decide if you're too old to wear Vans?
No, I decided. My kids told me I am, but F them kids. You know what I'm saying? Like,
please, because that's scary. Because I wear Vans all the time, and I didn't realize that there is an age limit, and I don't know what I would wear if I didn't wear New Balances, Asics.
Vans came out in 1966.
Wow.
13 years before I was born, way before my kids were born. So I don't really think that they even have a say on this anymore. So no, I'm gonna wear Vans. You got to go with the checkered. You got to have the checker slide-ons. I have the black checkered slide-ons, the white on white checker slide-ons. Those are mandatory. And then a couple other versions as well.
Do you know why they're called Vans?
I don't.
Because they were founded by Paul Van Doren and James Van Doren.
There it is.
How about that?
They could have been called Dorans. They could have been called Dorans.
And I always thought they were like a Bay Area shoe, but Anaheim.
Yeah.
Anaheim.
It does seem like a Bay Area shoe.
It does. Anyway, no, but really, Moody will cost us 4 games plus or minus. He's not going to be on the team this year.
He's not what?
Going to be on the team this year? I don't think he's going to make it.
You don't think he's going to make it?
Nah, man. No one wants. No.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No one actually has confidence in Jake Moody anymore. Do they? There's Jake?
One man. There's one man that does.
Okay, good point. Only if Kyle knew how to develop a quarterback equals champion. I think he was just if he had just run the ball in the third quarter of all 3 of the Super Bowl losses, I think he'd be a champion right now with the quarterbacks he had. Maybe I can't prove it. I don't know.
Yeah. If they would have signed Tom Brady or Stafford, they probably would be a champion right now.
Probably. Unless Kyle messed it up. Ryan, great show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Continue the Mexican food content, please.
I will. I absolutely will. I think it's my next calling. This might be my last year covering the Niners, guys. So make sure you tune in. Might retire.